Hi everyone, this is OCD Live. I'm Ali Grayman. We're going to be answering some questions about OCD. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on the next show, please leave it below any of the videos and let's get started. Okay, so first question is, can you describe how to disregard the thoughts in more detail? How to refuse paying attention? Thank you. So, okay, you're having a thought. The thought comes in, it gives you a lot of anxiety. You feel like you're a bad person, you need to solve this. What if, something happens, everything will fall apart. So, you're having this come into your mind. You're seeing it as symptoms of OCD. So you're forcing yourself to see it as, okay, I have OCD. That's why I'm feeling guilt. That's why I'm feeling this. That's why I'm feeling that. That's why I'm feeling like a bad person. That's why I have this extremely strong urge to solve the problem in whatever way, right? Depending on your OCD thought, right? If it's a physical compulsion, a mental compulsion of analyzing. So you're viewing all of this as OCD rather than, is this real? Is this not real? Let me try to figure it out. Let me go back in time, or let me check physically, or whatever it is, right? So you're choosing to only view this situation as OCD. That is the key to all of this. And no matter what, refusing to look at the situation as a real thing. And the other key thing is that you're not seeking relief from your anxiety. Anxiety is coming in, it's part of OCD. In order to get rid of it, you have to have the anxiety come in and refuse to react. The more you react to anxiety by trying to protect yourself from anxiety, the more anxiety is going to come in because your mind sees that you're scared and brings up more of what you are scared of. So it doesn't work that way, and that is the key factor why people have problems recovering, is the chasing of the relief. And the more you chase relief, the worse it actually gets. Just if you happen to be able to solve the thought, just based on the type of thought you're having, right? If it's easy to solve, you're just going to go to a new thought. If it's not easy to solve and there is no really way to truly solve it, then you're just going to go with the same thought, and it's going to go there for it really, with OCD. If you keep focusing on the thought will be there forever. It doesn't go away until you stop focusing on it. So you keep the thought right now. If you're having an OCD thought and you're having attention focused on that thought, if you choose to have your attention focused on that thought for a year, you will have this right now thought for a year. If it's going to be 2 years, it's going to be 2 years. So choose not to torture yourself. Choose to let go of the thought and just, say to yourself, okay, if the situation actually turns out true, then I will deal with it. And then I'll be the first one who'll be dealing with it, because OCD situations doesn't turn out to be true. So it feels like you're taking this huge risk by refusing to pay attention, but really, you will be the first one. So there is no risk. The only risk is if you choose not to do it and you choose to continue to seek relief, you will be stuck with it forever. So it is important to make that choice and take that leap of faith, because otherwise there is no recovery until you do this. Because every time you react to anxiety with more anxiety, your mind sees that and sends you more thoughts, because it thinks that this situation must be important since you are reacting to it. So it's very, very important to refuse reaction. So those are just some key points on refusing to pay attention. Basically, what it comes down to is a choice. If you're saying, I trust myself, or if you're saying, I want to solve the thought, that comes from a position of fear in a way. You want to come from a position of choosing the thoughts. So I'm choosing not to react. I'm choosing not to pay attention. Making a choice does not require proof. Making a choice requires willpower, right? So you're choosing not to pay attention and you're moving on with that choice. And guys, to the best of your ability, nobody's recovery is perfect. My way recovery wasn't perfect. It takes time to get this. So you will fall sometimes, and that choice sometimes feels very strong, and sometimes it's like you're barely making the choice. But the more you train your mind that this is okay and that you're choosing to disregard, and you're the one at the wheel and in the power seat, the more your mind will let go, and the easier over time it will be to make that choice, you know. And I'm telling you, if you really power through, it only takes a few months to get through this, you know. But there is really, guys, I mean, you can medicate yourself, you know, and it's, I don't really see too much good coming from people who are taking medication, in terms of it almost never works. You know, it works for some people, but the percentage, because I talk to a lot of people, so I do have the statistics to tell you, is that I would say not even 80, like 90% of people see very, very little, if any, improvement from medication, you know. So, and the even if they see improvement, it becomes a situation where the mind gets used to the level of medication, and then it needs a higher level, and you keep upping the dose and upping the dose and upping the dose, you know. So this is really the only way that I've ever seen in terms of recovery, is moving through, disregarding the thought, and just going forward. You know, you have to show your mind that everything is okay. So in every way. So refusing to analyze the thoughts, refusing to pay attention, not isolating yourself from the world, not behaving any differently. So not switching your schedule in terms of when you go out, how you work, what you spend time doing, what you're doing. So not avoiding anything, things like that. So behaving as if you don't have OCD. And when you do this, you know, all my clients tell me the same thing, right? That I feel like I'm not being a real person. I feel like I'm faking all of this. This is pretty much almost for everybody. This is the thing, you know. So it's pushing through that. Yeah, you don't feel like it's real, like you're doing, you know, like you're being kind of like like faking this stuff. That's fine, you know. It's just because your mind is so used to anxiety that it does feel like behaving just like everyone else is fake, because you're so in OCD. That's okay. It will change after a while, but for now, just refuse it. You know, refuse those feelings. Yeah, you feel like that, fine. You're gonna do it anyway. You know, and after doing it over and over and over again, going out, you know, just living life as you would, right? You will feel less and less of that feeling like you're being fake, or if you're having thoughts that are harm related, you know, people feel like they're a bad person, that they don't deserve being around other people. So all those feelings will go away as long as you keep pushing through and telling your mind that those feelings are not valid, you know. But if you're refusing to do all these things, you're validating those feelings. You're saying, yeah, I'm a bad person, I shouldn't be around other people. Yeah, I'm very, very sick, I should be just staying home, you know. So you're showing your mind how it should behave. So you better send the right message, because if you keep sending the wrong message, the OCD is still going to be there. So that it's not really in short, but this is what you need to do in terms of refusing to pay attention. It really is a choice. So next question: can reading online OCD forums trigger more unwanted thoughts? Of course, yeah. I'm dealing with a huge fear of schizophrenia, and I was reading people's experiences online, and started to get similar thoughts that they were describing, such as what if this is poison, and so on, etc. Even though I know these thoughts are not true, I still have doubt. You have to stop doing reassurance. You reading forums online, it's like, you know, you're reading something that has no it's nothing to do with you. Do you know what I mean? The more you read about this stuff, the more you try to analyze, the more you're seeking reassurance, the worse you're going to feel. You are doing this to you right now. In order for you to recover, you need to stop doing all of those things, you know? So it's that quest for reassurance. You need to stop in order to get better. You know, the more you go on doing this, the worse you're going to feel, the more real it's going to feel, you know? It's normal for whatever triggers you to start feeling like, oh yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Like for OCD, that's normal pattern, you know? And it's going to continue more and more the more you allow yourself to look into these things. So it's just very important to just say, you know, from this point on, I'm not reading any more forums, anything to do with schizophrenia. I'm done with this. I don't have schizophrenia. I don't need to read about it. It's done. This is just my OCD playing tricks on me, and being very strong in that choice. So next question is, hi, I have PRO for about a year now. I did not know that I was suffering with it until about 2 months ago. In January, I started having panic attacks, and the doctor told me if I had a panic disorder due to the thoughts, I guess. I got over the panic disorder, but I do not get panic attacks anymore. Only the intrusive thoughts. Now, for about 3 weeks, I managed to stop being scared of the thoughts. I know they're not who I am, that they only want to scare me and deceive me. My question is, why do I still experience some of the psychological signs of the panic disorder? Lump in my throat, shortness of breath, even when I don't have these thoughts. Will they go away at some point? How long does it take for the thoughts to go away? Basically, you are doing everything right, because if the thoughts are going away, then whatever you are doing is working. So keep doing that. In addition, you need to calm down your mind. Your mind went through a lot. It's a big upheaval for the mind, and now you need to calm it back down. So anything to do with calming the mind, such as meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, reducing stress, is critical to you right now. Reducing all caffeine in all of its forms, colas, coffee, tea, because tea can also spike you as well. Anything to do with caffeine you want to get rid of, anything to do with stress you want to get rid of. You want to be as calm as possible in the situation that you are in, right? Because we all have stress in our lives, but trying to minimize it as much as possible, not taking on more than you absolutely need to. So I'm guilty of this as well, right? That, we have projects and we take on way too much to do it right now. You don't need to do it right now. So make a list of things you want to do, and then make a list of, out of those things, what do you actually need to do? And only do the things that you actually critically need to do right now. Everything else, forget about it. Replace it with all of these meditation, yoga, really relaxing practices. Use the time for that until you start to feel a little bit better, because you need to take time out for yourself right now. But you're doing really well in terms of getting over things, because everything is going away, and that's really, really nice to hear. So you just need to calm the mind and you will feel better. So next question is, does OCD have something to do with depersonalization or derealization? And whenever I do something, a thought pops up in my mind along with some nervous feeling, like if I did it the way normal people would do. I know I always do things right and better than anyone else, but thoughts keep on popping up, like, am I insane? Am I inconsistently checking and I'm consistently checking my sanity? Is this all OCD problem or something else? So here what you're doing is you're seeking reassurance, you're trying to analyze, and you are buying into the feelings. So OCD sends you feelings, you're buying into them, paying attention to them, validating them, getting anxious, and basically prolonging the feelings and the anxiety by saying to your mind that this is important. So just like we were talking before, don't address this as, is it true or is it not true? Let me try to figure it out, but rather address it, this is OCD. All the feelings I am having about whether this is true or not and trying to solve it is a part of OCD, and I'm going to disregard it from now on. So approach has to be from a position of power, from a position of OCD, rather than from a position of weakness and trying to figure it out and relating it to real life. So next question is kind of long, so I'm going to sum it up a little bit. Basically, the person is saying that they had an OCD thought that lasted for over 2 months. Then they got over it, but the new thought came in. Then they got over that thought, and now random thoughts are popping in. So what is happening? Basically, what's happening with that is you are getting... you're doing correct in terms of your recovery. You're doing everything right. But your mind is going to take some time to get used to this. So it's your mind is really not believing you when you are refusing anxiety at this point. And this happens to pretty much everybody who recovers. It's a process, Your mind has learned over time that you need to be always in the state of anxiety. Your mind is very comfortable in that state. So when you're trying to push the anxiety away, your mind says, okay, let me throw a different thought at you. You push that thought away, Now it's starting to just throw random things at you. And the more you refuse these thoughts, the more kind of ridiculous the thoughts get, because your mind starts to run out of, material kind of thing, of what to scare you with. And it just starts to give you thoughts that don't, like I remember when I had OCD, that I would get thoughts that I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Why am I, like, why was this popping into my head? This would never even be possible for it to happen, but it throws it at you because it wants to make sure that you are safe, because you are disregarding and because you are doing such a good job. Basically it's just your mind adjusting. You don't have to do anything more than you are already doing. So what we talked about, disregarding, not paying attention, all the things I talked about in the beginning of the show, I'm sure you are already doing this because your thoughts are switching, but even more so, right? Just powering through it and you will feel better. This is just the mind adjusting. This just shows that you're doing the right things. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you will get there as long as you just keep doing what you're already doing, and even more so, just right away. As soon as you get a new thought, there it is again. Yeah, I know you're trying to adjust. Whatever, not going to pay attention to it, and moving on and doing your thing, living your life as if you already got over it. Because that sends a strong signal that there's no danger, and then your mind is gonna adjust faster, but it takes a little bit of time. So next question is, hi Ali, when we have fear that we may have done something, for example, that I hit someone with my car, then straight away or hours later visualize yourself hitting someone, what does it make us do this? It's a choice, okay? So it pushes you to try to analyze, try to figure it out. It can give you images, it can give you details to try to analyze and all of that. But it's still a choice. It's saying, oh, this is very scary. You should check this out. Or here's an image. Is this true? But it's still a choice for you to say, oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna try to figure it out. In the moment, it doesn't feel like a choice, but it still is a choice. And it's important for you to understand the power that you have, in terms of paying attention to it or not paying attention to it. You don't need to give it your energy. You can, but you don't have to. And when you choose not to, your mind will stop sending this to you. And again, just like I was saying in the previous question, it takes a little bit of time, and your mind can throw random thoughts at you just to make sure you are safe. But you need to start adjusting your mind to correct way of thinking rather than going from thought to thought. So the next question is about feeling down and feeling like you are back at square one. Every time you kind of have a setback, and it is difficult, and you will have those setbacks. You are not at square one because your brain has already started to shift. So it's getting back up. Okay, you're saying that your OCD theme is relationship OCD. So you already know what theme it is, right? You know what it has to do with. If it has to do with that theme, disregarding all the thoughts and just taking that leap of faith and refusing to pay attention, no matter what it is. So you're not saying, okay, this thought is no longer relevant, the next thought is no longer relevant, but rather grouping them all into one and saying, if it has to do with the relationship, it's all OCD, I'm disregarding everything. Rather than analyzing each thought. And it is hard work. It is work. It's gonna take time, and you will have setbacks. But having a setback doesn't mean you're back at square one. You just have to pick up where you left off and just keep going. Like I say in all my shows, it is a race against yourself. And if you step back a few steps, you're still in the race, and you still have already made progress. So you just gotta get back up and keep going. So I've never seen a recovery where the person never had a setback. People have setbacks. I've had many, many setbacks in my recovery as well. It's you keep going until you fully get over it. So the next question is, hey, what meds have you seen that seem to help? And the person's mentioning a few different brands. I can't mention them in this video though. Really, to be honest with you, from my experience, I see people who have who take all kinds of different medications, SSRIs mostly, and none of them seem to really do much, So I don't think it's an issue of which brand, but more the issue of generally that SSRIs, which is the antidepressants, is a common term, right? They don't really do much, you know. At a higher dose, they turn you into a person who just doesn't care about anything. Um, and that has to be a really high dose. And even then, that sometimes doesn't work. At a low dose, they do pretty much zero. So at best, you might have a placebo effect where because you feel like you're taking medication, you feel like it's doing something. But, you know, you need to do the work. You can't get around the work by just popping a pill, you know, and that's kind of the truth of it. And it took me a long time, you know, when I was going through OCD recovery to recognize that because, you know, you feel like, you know, there's something out there that will help you, you know. So I tried medications myself. I tried vitamins, and it just, you know, like taking vitamins to help OCD as well. None of it really works. The only thing that works is what we're talking about here. Next question is, I worry my thoughts are not OCD, but that I am really somebody who could harm somebody. I've never been truly diagnosed, and that is what scares me. Okay, well, listen, first of all, I think people put a lot of value into being diagnosed. You have to understand that a doctor is not, you know, a magical unicorn kind of person, right? They're not different from you. They're not better, you know, more knowledgeable than you. They've read a book, they took a test on that book for a few years, and then they got a degree. That is, you know, I mean, obviously I'm oversimplifying, but basically that is all that happened. So, you know, because a doctor signs off on this is OCD or this is depression or whatever, you know, this doesn't change the fact that you have OCD. And if you came up with a doctor or have a doctor that said, oh, well, it doesn't seem like it's OCD. You know, because there are silly doctors that don't know what they're talking about that will say, oh, from what I know, OCD is only about cleaning. Because that's the book that they read. That's the book that they did a test on. That's what they've been taught, you know? So don't put so much emphasis on the diagnosis. If I haven't been formally diagnosed, you're being diagnosed by a person who's just like you, who saw you for what, 15, 20 minutes? And based on that 15, 20-minute assessment, gave you a diagnosis. You know, don't put so much stock in it. You yourself can recognize that this is OCD, you know, based on the fact that, you know, all of the symptoms are OCD symptoms, you know. So the fact that you're watching this show, the fact that you find it relevant is already telling you that this is OCD. You can get diagnosed, you should get diagnosed, but it's, you know, I mean, you are your best kind of judge of the disorder because you are the one experiencing it, not the doctor, you know. And if the doctor's seeing you, like, seriously, think about it. For 15 minutes, 20 minutes, okay, they're seeing you. What can they really tell about the depth and the inner workings of your struggle based on that short time, you know? And what do they really even know and understand about the struggle of OCD? So don't put so much faith in what the doctors do. Really, you need to focus on stopping the reassurance pattern. Because what you're saying here is, I worry my thoughts are not OCD. You're spending time worrying. And what if I'm somebody who can hurt somebody? So the what if, let me try to figure it out. Let me try to analyze. Let me try to look online. Let me try to compare myself to other people who maybe are bad people. And am I different than them? Or, you know, all of these things are common OCD symptoms. That, you know, reading this question alone, you know, but that's because, like, I've been, you know, helping people with OCD for so long, right? It's, you know, it's, this is a typical standard OCD question, you know, but what you're doing is wrong in terms of analyzing. You know, the more you analyze, the more into OCD you're going to get, you know. So your problem is not that you are a bad person or that you can harm somebody. Your problem is that you're not doing the right things in order to recover. You know, you need to focus on that and not refusing to analyze if you are a good or a bad person. Because that's reassurance. That's going to get you deeper and that's going to make you feel worse. So this is the end of the show. I know I haven't gotten to all the questions, and I'm going to try my best to get another show out in the next few days just to get the rest of them taken care of. We missed the show last week, and the reason being was that we were traveling and the internet was not good enough to do the show. So please leave the questions below any of the videos. Visit youhaveocd.com for more information. There's a recovery program there. There's ebooks, articles, lots of information to help you recover on the website as well as on this channel. So please check that out. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.